when you pray, to become one with the prayer. You become the prayer. It's just not a line of words you're saying, but you know exactly what it is all about for you, what you want to achieve with this,
And what I really love as well, when that's such a huge shift, when we really become aware the kingdom of heaven is inside of me, meaning I am individualized God consciousness.
Hello, my loves. This is Julie. I am gratefully your host of the You-est-you podcast. And if you're new here, welcome. I'm so honored. And if you're not new here, welcome. I'm honored. I love getting to have these conversations and share them with you. I am recording this after I spoke with Lars and Naleea, and you are going to have such a profound experience here. I hope you will take the time to really listen. There is a beautiful prayer and also many different teachings and wisdom nuggets that I know can help you, especially if you're feeling a little on edge, if you're feeling like you want to give up, like you're just feeling a little bit like you're dragging, you're alone, you've been struggling in life, whatever is heavy on your heart. I really believe this conversation is going to uplift you. The other thing I want to say is that the frequency, the energy of these two beautiful souls is extremely high. I could feel it in myself. And so just allow yourself to bask in this heart-centered energy. I would even invite you, maybe listen with your eyes closed, with your heart open. But we really dove into some beautiful spiritual truths and teachings and practices that are practical. I don't want to give it all away, and there's too much to cover here. I want to get into the conversation, but I will share. We did start with a beautiful intention that right away just set the energy. So if you've been feeling like you're struggling a little and a little lackluster and a little alone, and like you could use a little faith booster in something greater, in yourself, in really being your you-est-you, my dear friend, listen up, listen in, tune in. You are going to find this conversation to be so empowering at the deepest cellular level. And for that, I am so grateful to be here with you. As always, if you have any comments or questions or thoughts or feedback or insights, please share them, especially hop on over to my YouTube channel. It's under my name, Julie Reisler, or the You-est-you podcast. And I love to respond. And I will share this with Lars and Naleea too, so that we can all respond. And I just want to thank you for being on this journey with me. Together, we can shift and uplift consciousness, and that happens one heart at a time. Love you so much. Hello, dear You-est-you family. I usually set intentions with my guest before we start the conversation and before I press record, but something told me to press record and let you in on our setting of intentions now together. So you're here and you can be part of it. So we're going to be doing this real time. And if you'd like to join us, feel free. Obviously, if you're not driving a car, you could close your eyes, put your hand on your heart. But we're going to set this intention for our conversation. I can already feel it's going to be quite beautiful and magical. And on cue, my sweet cat Luna is talking, so she might be joining us. The animals are so in tune. So I will just turn it over to you. We have the amazing guest today, Lars Muhl and Naleea. You're going to get to learn so much more about how to connect in with your divine source. Lars or Naleea, would either of you like to start first? Just really grounding ourselves in an intention for today.
Yeah. We actually always, what is on our hearts always is to try to give people an experience of what we are working with while we are online, or if we are working with people live, one-to-one or in a group. So hopefully that comes through the frequencies that we are we are going to connect through together tonight. So that is absolutely what I always would like to happen.
So to wrap that into one sentence, I would say, I am light, born within the light.
Oh, that's beautiful. Both so beautiful. And I'll just add this trilogy, the three of us, so beautiful. I will add that may this conversation be a blessing. May it bless every heart, every soul that listens now or at any time in the future. And may this be a conversation that opens your heart as well, that opens and activates your heart. Yeah. And with that, and so it is. So it is. We will start. Ooh, I can feel a shift already. So I would love to just really have my beautiful community get to know each of you and the work that you do. And so maybe even, Lars, if you want to start to talk about your work, I know as an author, musician, spiritual teacher, how did you get into this work? Were you like as a little boy thinking about these kinds of things? Like what got you into, this sort of work? I know you've written the God Formula. I know you have other books that we'll be talking about, but I'm so curious. Maybe you could share just a little bit about how you came to this spiritual way of being and teaching.
Yeah, to me it started as a boy, 8-9 years old, when I had a vision of the etherical realm just while I was playing with my sister. That was very up in the face, you could say, because it was like the veil was being drawn away for just an instant. And of course, as 8-9 years old, you don't have any language for that or don't know what it is. But after my sister died, she was 10 years. She was 6 years. I was 10 years old. This really, what I experienced there really was the taking a new phase. Like it was now every day, almost on an everyday level, that I had experiences. I won't go into any more details because it's all explained in a new book that we are doing also. And it may be inspirational for other people also, because I believe that this is something all of us have access to when we are children. And but this was absolutely for me the very beginning of a whole life path, because very early on I could not really spell it out, but I believe also, I had when President Kennedy was murdered, my mother came into me. I was 12 years old, 13 years. I've just been 30 years old, and told me about it. She was crying. It was a huge thing here in Europe. Everybody had so high hope for America and for the Kennedys and all this. So that same night, I wrote on a small piece of paper that I would devote myself to truth, righteousness, and enlightenment. And I think that has been something that was put down as a wish and also as a purpose why I came into this life. So even through the music that I was involved in, because I stopped going to school when I was 11, around that, I started to read a lot of books in English, even though I could not speak the language. So it became a kind of education for me, reading a book of Sufi poems and so yeah, that was really where it started to me, and then it evolved and up through the years, and I started to study very early on, all the world religions, and especially the Aramaic language that Yeshua spoke. So that has been going on. Then, of course, I met my teacher, the seer, Calle de Montségur, which I have wrote about in my book, The O Manuscript. And lately, that was after the O Manuscript came out, that I got connected to Naleea back in, I believe it was 2008 or 9. And later on in 2017, we really started to work together. And it had been such a revelation for me, because I have been very much into the feminine, the sacred feminine. And one thing is to write about, as a man, about the sacred feminine. Another thing is to really to walk the talk in that respect. And so it became natural at that point that I really wanted to experience, to work with a woman that had that integrity that I have kind of been looking for or searching for, that didn't make a big fuss about anything actually, but was doing small miracles, I would say, on an everyday level without making a fuss about it. It's like, for Naleea, it's very much part of her whole being, I see. Of course, she has a very strong personality as well, but I don't want to come into that now. But we have been working ever since. She's been translating my workshop, but also translating books and editing books. And now for the new book that I've been done the basics for, she's very, very actively part of that. Also going into not only editing, but also contributing to what is being there. And she's really forcing me to go into every sentence to see exactly what it is, because I'm very impatient by nature. So I just take for granted that everybody knows what I'm writing about, and being a mystic and writing about mystical experiences. Of course, it can be difficult to find words for what you're doing, but that is what our work is about. It is to not just to talk about things, but to try to give other people an experience so they can get experiences, inspiration for them to start to believe in themselves, that they are already enlightened. We are already enlightened, all of us. So that is very part of my job, and I believe also Naleea, of course, but we have different ways being masculine and feminine, and that is what is really interesting to me also, to explore that on a whole new level. So that is what it's about for me. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love so much of what you said, and we'll come back to even that statement, we're all already enlightened, and to really dig into that, as well as the book that you're both working on. It just sounds like such a beautiful partnership where your strengths are really brought together and able to do something really spectacular in the world. And would love to hear from you, Naleea. I know you're an author, inspirational speaker, actress. You've got an amazing background, and writer. To share a little bit about your journey on the path, and then how that's kind of come together with Lars.
Yeah. For me, I since I'm a child, I had these out of body experiences where I was laying down, like coming out of kindergarten or so, and before lunch laying down and being taken out of the body and not understanding what that was, but having that as a regular experience. And many years later, I think I was 18, 19, something like that, when I was in acting school, I heard a TV program where the word, and I'm not even sure, was it astral travel or astral body or something, was said. And it was like, there was nothing like that at that time. There's this very unusual, I would not even know what that was, but my whole being reacted like on fire and pulsating. And so I was like, oh, what is that? And so I remember I went in the neighborhood. There was like a esoteric bookshop, and I was like looking over my shoulder thinking, can I go in there, kind of thing. It was so foreign for me. And yeah, and then I just bought, I think it was 3 or 4 books on the topic, everything that was there. And then I just saw what has happened all these years, so to speak. My understanding could match my experience, and that was not a dream or something like that. But once I shared that with my granny and with my mom, and it was like, of course, no one had a reference to that, so it was more said like, "Ma, that must have been a dream," or or something you imagine. And it was amazing to then have the proof, so to speak, that was what like all these years have happened, that was just an enter into a totally different realm than we know reality to be, and that I can trust that. And I think from that point, like from that moment on, many other things happened, but I know for sure that this is not, the world we live in is not the only reality. Let's say it like that. It is reality, but it is not the only reality. To me, it's never like that is a dream, what we're experiencing. I always feel it's just a different vibration. And coming now to my access to the work is always frequency. So if that is through writing, like to find the frequency in the words, or to find what is written, and what are we experiencing when we read this. Is it something that is uplifting and connecting, or is it something that's maybe even frightening or so? And sometimes something challenging has to be shared. I understand that. But like what I always wanted to do with acting is to bring the unity of really our heart space and our soul into whatever we do. And I guess that's why I love working with Lars so much, because it's just this allowing of that everybody can experience what is already there in them, instead of saying, oh, now I have to follow this or that or that or this, and it's all, what is right, what is wrong, let's have another concept, let's have another this or that. But it's the opposite. It's like the dropping of the concepts. And yeah, of course, that can be for someone like this immediately, or it can be for someone else that it takes a little bit time. But it's for sure a path that I think is really the most natural for all of us, to really let go of like the masks, or let go of the layers of all the colorful palette of its guilt, if it's anger, if it's sadness. Big topic for me, sadness, sadness about the world, sadness about this or that. And just to say, it's just another color of, something that has been identified with. And it's just wonderful to know, the moment we go into like the presence of the heart, or the presence of what we call like the heavenly source of all being, like that what is us in the all-knowing, all-loving. I mean, there are no questions anymore. when we allow that, and we can come into that from any state we are in. The only thing is that we need to be willing, and sometimes we are not.
Wow, beautiful. Okay, the willingness is I just got the image of like the key that opens the door. We have free will. It's so interesting, even the word willing, and we have free will. So using our will with that open-heartedness, open-mindedness, I just saw like a key that opens the availability. That's really powerful. I have so many, we're going to love to come back to your out of body experiences, the astral plane. I'm making a note because we'll come back to some of these, because I sometimes can hear questions like, what is that like? What does that feel like? So I want to come back to that, but I would love to give everyone listening an experience. It doesn't have to be right now, but at some point in this conversation, we talked about that heavenly source of all being, that we are all already enlightened. And so perhaps towards the end, we can, if you both are willing and open to do an experience. I'm laughing. My cat is joining us right now. She's right here. She's loving the frequency. She doesn't do this unless I'm telling you, high vibration. She'll show up.
We can hear her.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I was gonna mute it. I'm like, no, that's real life. She's a cutie, and I love her.
We love
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's looking right. So cute. She's looking right here. I am curious. So you said something earlier, Lars, and for those who may not know, actually, one of the videos I saw quite a few that you were on, and I had this immediate, I must interview him. When I get that download, it's like, it's going to happen. I don't know how. I think I somehow found you and was like, we've got to do this. You mentioned the name Yeshua and talked about Aramaic and the studies that you've done. I know your Gnostic studies and understanding the Essenes. And I just thought for someone who may not know that name or term, perhaps we could just do a little bit of, I don't know, not 101, but to share a little bit about what you've learned in studying Aramaic and more about Yeshua's teachings and who that was. And I know that's a big question, so I'll let you take it from wherever you would like.
Yeah, I could go on. I could go on for a long time. But we could just take one or two words that is very, very important. If you, for example, from the Gospel of Luke, Yeshua is speaking about the kingdom of heaven.
So Yeshua is Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeshua is talking about the kingdom of heaven. That kingdom of heaven is within us. It's not a place; it is a state of being. But whatever language you when you are pronouncing kingdom of heaven, it doesn't really say anything about what it is or what it contains. And you can take any language, and it will be okay. And if you ask most people, they would think, oh, it's something up there, But what is that kingdom of heaven? And in the Aramaic, if you just take Malkuta de Shemaya, then Malkuta is the kingdom, or it's a royal feeling and uplifted feeling or state of being. But Deshem Aya is built of a root word that is Shem, Deshem Aya, and Shem is actually that image or that light or consciousness in which we were created. It says in the book of Moses, or Genesis, that we were born in the image of God, or we were created in the image of God. And that is actually what it is. So, and the ending of that Deshem Aya means which is forever. So we are really carrying that God consciousness within us, something that cannot perish. It is there always. That is so important to understand, that when it is said that the kingdom of heaven is within us, it's amazing that it's carrying all these things. And there are so many other meanings to the Shem: sound, light, vibration. But just to understand that what most important is this light, and light in Aramaic is consciousness. And to me and to Naleea, God is consciousness. It is the consciousness from which we are. And that's why we are already enlightened, because Yeshua is telling us, Kingdom of Heaven is within you. So now we have to wake up and take responsibility for it. And that is actually when he's talking about everybody can be reborn even within this life. And that rebirth is when we understand who we really are, and we take the consequences and take responsibility for it. Another word that I think is very, very important also in Aramaic is the word for sin, because Christianity is very much about sin and guilt and all these things. But actually there isn't any word for sin as we understand it in Aramaic. It actually means to hit or to miss the mark. You cannot really succeed. Then that is what it means. And why can't you succeed is because you're too far away from what you are trying to achieve. So it actually means to be present. If you're not present, you cannot succeed in anything. And that is to me very, very important, because what is present? What does it mean to be there? It is to become one with what you want to achieve. At the moment that you wish for something that you already, first and foremost, you know why you want something. If you say, I want to be a millionaire, the next question is, why? Oh, yeah, because then I can go for a holiday for the rest of my life or whatever it is. But is that really why you came here, to go on a holiday? And if that's why you came, amazing. Then I hope you'll get many millions. But I doubt that's the only reason you're here. So it really raises a lot of questions, our wishes, We can really discover ourselves through what we wish. Because my father, he was a gambler, really a gambler. And he wanted the big one, He wanted to win the big one. One day, I asked him, what would you do if you won? He hadn't even thought about it, So why waste your whole life doing something and you don't know really why you're doing it? So we have a lot of things around us that we are not present about. We are not there. So presence to me means actually to become one with something, to become one with the other person. Am I really listening to what the other ones are saying? Is it really traveling from their mind or heart to my heart? Do I really receive this and understand it? And even if, this is something all of us do, if we are asked about something, maybe we are not being totally honest about to answer in our answer, not because we want to lie, but because maybe we are embarrassed about something. So we try to say, yeah, no, I'm all right. No, you're not all right. Because I can feel you're not all right. So instead of maybe asking a lot of questions there, because I am present now and I know that this person is not all right. So what do? I try to help that person come to a position where he or she feels better, I'm here to interact with the other persons, because we are all carrying the kingdom of heaven within. So that is the way we need to start to correspond to each other. That's the real conversation, heart to heart. And I think that is so embedded in the Aramaic way of thinking of everything. You have this, what you give is what you get thing. And you don't give because you think, oh, I have to give, then I'll get something, then I'll win the big one. No, you have come here with a certain gift that is different from your gift and other people's gift. But the gift I have come with, that's what is interesting for me, because that's why I have to be present around that gift, so I know how to share it with other people. So in that way, we are have a certain purpose here in life, and that is why we are here. And that's so interesting also because besides everything else, we have to muster a lot of humor also, you know. So that is really, but it's all in the Aramaic language, and the word sin means you're not present. So, and the moment you're present, you become one with what you really wish, because you know exactly why you want it, so and so and so. And it goes also with when you pray, to become one with the prayer. You become the prayer. You know, it's just not um, a line of words you're saying, but you know exactly what it is all about for you, what you want to achieve with this, you know. And the moment that is happening, you become one with things. You go into that thing that we call to go into the flow, when we become what we want, you know. And that is so beautiful when it happens.
And what I really love as well, when we are becoming aware of that's such a huge shift, when we really become aware the kingdom of heaven is inside of me, meaning I am individualized God consciousness. Like it's just, it has so many consequences as well. Just what Lars was speaking, that the other one has got that kingdom of heaven inside of them as well. And instead of going in the conversations, going through, okay, can I trust that you will tell me what you want or what you mean, or, you know, all of these, to stay in that presence of, for example, breathing from my heart to your hearts now. And then keep feeling that. And whatever is said, maybe at the same time, we will know if the person means that or not. And we will not even say, oh, you don't mean that, I can feel it. So you will just know, oh, this person cannot say anything else beside of that right now. So I don't have to. So I love that, for example, when someone says, I cannot trust that person. And then I say, well, I can trust that I cannot trust that person, you know? So it's like, I really can relate to my own feeling through that. Our fields will get more and more sensitive towards that big word, truth, which is beside of, you know, this more modern talk of, I have my truth, you have your truth, everybody has got their expression. Yes, of course. But to me as well, there is that one consciousness that I would call truth, or the law of light, the manifestation of the word, the frequency of oneness, however you like, whatever you wish to name it. But there is like a principle that is beyond and above and within everything. And that's what I mean when I say truth. And it's like, the more we become like just aware, the less we need to be I don't know, assured, or we need to have a reference from the other. We can really then sit and recognize, so to speak, what really the other is about, and ourselves too.
Yeah. I think there's just so many nuggets of gold in what you both have said. I'm trying to sift which one do I want to hold up, you know, and anyone listening, I mean, my heart is so, it's like whoosh, just opening and opening as you're both sharing, and really just love this. I've talked about this actually here before, about re-understanding sin, meaning it's missing the mark. I've never heard of it. What a next level understanding that it's about not being present. That I feel like, I feel like if we were to have Yeshua show up today, which I know people can call that energy in and do, it would be a call to action to literally be in this heartbeat moment, in this moment, in this moment. And that's something in our society and culture, I think is really, I'll call it an opportunity. I love the way that you're talking about this. And I want to also share, just to make a link and connect the dots for our listeners. I had interviewed Greg Braden, whom you might know, and we were talking about in Aramaic, I believe also in Arabic and Hebrew and cuneiform. It's exactly what you said. What was discovered is that God, the eternal, lives within my body, lives within me. It's exactly what you're saying. And I remember hearing that and reading that and felt this like, yeah, I know, like that is what we want to be affirming. And these teachings, this really getting the presence so that we don't miss, like you said, Lars, your dad, your father, he didn't even pull the string out to even see or think or feel how he would, the gambling, I'm sure there were roots under why, but what he would even do if he won. And the idea we come here with gifts to express, it's actually why I started this show. The whole idea of being your you-est-you. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's not Aramaic, it's made up in English, but it's just resonating. What you're speaking about is the presence to your divinity and your divine gifts. And we each have that one expression as ourselves in this one lifetime. Of course, many others to come and to be, but this is the one. There's so much here. I am wondering, in terms of how to make this, how can we make looking at sin in a whole different way with presence? Are there any tools? I'm sort of going to the very practical for a moment. So someone listening who decides, I just really want to be one with my heart's desires, with my gifts. I'm going to just open up the floor. Any tools or thoughts or what you've seen can help to really align?
For me, absolutely. The this this understanding that just makes me so unspeakably happy to understand that it's neither I myself who can decide. I can dedicate myself to something, but it's not I decide and I do, nor it's like I can say, oh God, you do it, or God consciousness, you do it, whatever it is that I would like to achieve or maybe let go of. But it is me, like this beautiful, beautiful prayer from Francis from Assisi, who's praying in the first line, oh Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. So it's neither God, give me peace, nor like I should be now peaceful and I'm not, but it's like the merging that I allow God consciousness that I allow the awareness that God consciousness is acting through me and is me. So, and to me, these two understandings are the ground level of so much painful search. When we're like, I'm asking God and it is not responding, or I am so good and it should be, why is it not manifesting now, or whatever, both of that is, to me, it will always end in a struggle, but to bring both together and to say, I am actively merging with it, with my awareness that I am presence, that I am consciousness, and then follow the next impulse. Like last day, we all have a gift. We all have a gift. My thoughts will be now different when I'm in the stillness. than both of your thoughts. So, and thank God I only have to follow mine. But in the dedication of expressing that, or being that instrument or that vase or that ambassador, or however, there's so many traditions who call it in different ways. So very practical. There we are in the be still and know, because we are entering into a place where we're not running around, but we become still and let the voice come to us or through us.
Mm. Beautiful. Sometimes I think that everyone has their way of connecting in, and for some, religion really does that. I sometimes wish these teachings are so, so potent and powerful. Like, I get this image of this big tent or bonfire circle with just everyone, all religions, all of us. You know, the tenets of these teachings, it doesn't feel like it's to one religion. I know that it can be. It just feels so universal. Hey, my friend, it's Julie. I am so excited to share that we finally have You-est-you teas available. We've got You-est-you swag, and you can get them now from November 11th, yes, 11/11, until December 3rd. That's Giving Tuesday. Go to juliereisler.com/swag. That will also be down in the description. You have an array of colors, and these are fantastic holiday gifts. So for yourself, for friends, for loved ones, anyone that you want to inspire. When you wear your You-est-you tee, you are literally sending the message that we are all worthy of living our most authentic lives, that within each of us is that divinity and potentiality, and that being your truest You-est-you is a gift. I want to share also that a portion of all the proceeds are going to the HeartMath Institute, an amazing organization that studies and researches and helps humans to elevate their consciousness and unlock their heart intelligence. So go to juliereisler.com/swag to get your You-est-you tee right now. Definitely take a pic, share it on social media, share it with me. And thank you for being here, for being part of this community, this soul family, and for doing your part in inspiring the world.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the decision to belong to everything, to belong, and not to any interpretation, but to that what is behind the symbols, that what is behind the structures, that what is behind the scriptures, to belong to that. And to me, that's what Yeshua and Mariam have been teaching. It's the oneness.
Yeah. I'd love to talk a little bit about, you're speaking about Mary Magdalene, Mariam, I'm assuming. Yeah. Would love to talk a bit about her teachings. For many listening, you may not know as much about her teachings. For some listening, I know I've gone on a deep dive reading as much as I can, because I was so curious and just enamored and felt so connected to the teachings and wisdom that came through her. Would love, I know it's a big question, but just a basic understanding of not only who she was, but some of the basic tenets of her teachings.
Yeah. When we are talking about Mary Magdalene, we will always be talking about Yeshua. And when we talk about Yeshua, we will always talk about her. So again, it's very much about the masculine and the feminine working together on equal footings. You should also remember that Yeshua was an Essene, or he was taught by the Essene community. And she would probably be taught or had her education at the Therapeutae in Egypt. They were very much alike, those two. And actually, the Therapeutae were called the Egyptians Essenes. But when Jesus started, or Yeshua started to work with her, and they were married at the wedding at Cana that we can read about in the New Testament. From that moment on, there was a lot of the brotherhood of the Essenes who did not really accept what they were doing. And to me, that is very much the teachings of Mary Magdalene and Jesus. This working together in equality. And that's not to, yes, it is comparable, because everywhere where men and women, or the masculine and feminine, are coming together and try to merge together, and I'm not talking about the bridal chamber or anything, but just for example, in a partnership where we work together on equal footing. And it's not always about understanding the other, but always to respect the other in the process. Because there will be a lot of things where, and we know that being men and women, that a lot of times, how many times have you heard about, oh yeah, that's typical men, or that's typical women, and then it's done, We need to really say, okay, I don't understand this, so I don't know if it's typical for anybody, but I respect it nevertheless, because in that way, I open the door instead of closing it. And there is a very, very beautiful quote from the Gospel of the Nazarenes, where Yeshua is saying, and that is what the teachings is about. He says these words: I and my bride are one, exactly as Mary Magdalene, whom I have chosen for myself as an example, is one with me. I and my bride are one, exactly as Mary the Magdalene, whom I have chosen to myself as an example, is one with me. In that sentence, he's actually saying that he himself have found his feminine principle within, and that principle is mirrored in an earthly woman, Mary Magdalene, and therefore he has chosen her as a kind of a teacher, or example, or archetype of that feminine principle, because they are one. So you see, that goes both ways. So it is actually a way of saying that when we are going into a relationship with the other, with the masculine or the feminine, we are actually going into a new experience where we are opening ourselves for learning something, to be taught about what that principle really is all about, because that principle will always mirror itself into the man or into the woman. And that is what the teachings are really about. And whatever goes on between those two, it can be two women for that sake, or two men, but it's always masculine or feminine. So what is going on in there, right down from the personality thing or the ego thing to the higher self, is part of that teaching, So there's also another thing I think we often forget when we are talking about spirituality and what it is to walk the way, and this is that have we asked ourselves to begin with, why did we incarnate here? There's people who think that everything here is an illusion. Fine. That's fine for me. You can call it whatever you will, but we are here. That is something we have to realize. We are here for a reason. We have chosen to come here. So you can call it whatever you want. It's a matrix and somebody has invented it. Okay, but we are here, and we are here for a reason. So let's accept that and take responsibility for it. We have chosen to come here. So it is a path from the little self or the personality to the higher self, to recognize that enlightenment. And for that, I believe we need to have as much experience here. And that's why we come back again and again and again. And most of the people that is really into spirituality in what I would call a serious way have been here many times. It's old souls who have come here not only to for their own sakes to get more experience, but get experience through the way of sharing and giving, you know. And so it's very, very simple for me why we are here. And that doesn't matter that I would like to have a glass of red wine. I would like to do this. I would like to, a lot of things, you know, that have to do with my senses, you know, and my passion and whatever. But at the end of the day, that is only extra smaller gifts that will come along with the packet, you know. I know why I'm here, and that is for me the sole focus I need to come back to every day and many times a day, you know. Sometimes, so you need to find a practice that can keep you in the loop, so to speak, and keep you focused. And there's so many, I believe, don't make it complicated. Make it as simple as possible so you can take it to the supermarket and you can practice there while you're doing the shopping. That is, to me, the balance between accepting being incarnated in this crazy world and to also share your gift in this wonderful world. So that is, to me, Mary Magdalene's teachings, like as it is Jesuits. You know? We are all Christ people, you know. And she was, you know, he was the Yeshua the Nazarene, Yeshua the initiated. She was Mary the Magdalene, what do we call it? The exalted one, you know. That was her initiation name, so to speak. The exalted one. And they came here to show us how to walk that way.
I mean, to me, when you were saying supermarket and, you know, everyday life, and so it really is that what we know when we really feel happy, we know that from ourselves, how it can be felt. We enter a room and we are oozing happiness out, you know, or we're angry and we open a door and everybody feels that, oh, okay, what's happening, you know? So, and it's like, that is like, if we don't know, or we don't think that we have any time also for practice, for prayer, for spiritual practices, if only that, like to know before we go out of the house, or before when we cross from one room to the next or whatever, to just check one more time again, what am I oozing out? What is my frequency that I'm sharing right now with everyone and everything, like with the plant in the room, as much as the cat, as much as, you know, everybody I'm going to meet. And it's like, you know, there's so much we can like really give when we are having a caring and positive and maybe even loving frequency. It's just amazing, like that simpleness of smiling at someone, that simpleness of recognizing if someone needs something that we are just passing by on the street. I mean, this is anyway to me the only reason for practice, as like Lars just said, well, whatever this year is, but we're here. So I always you know, I had an experience where I saw myself from above, and it was really clear, oh, okay, I can decide now, will I stay or will I go? And it was very surprising to me, because of course I thought, of course I stay. But after that, I became very clear of what I have been really giving to the world, so to speak. You know, I was very much with the sword in the hand and, you know, fighting against this and against that. And politic and social system and this and that, and I mean, you have it, all of it, and very much, like I said before, always connected to sadness. Like, what is the state of this world? And then I thought, wow, what have I been doing the whole time? It's like, so my field has just been poisoning the whole time. And of course, not the whole time, thank God, because there's a lot of other levels that have been present. But my main thing of then understanding after that, everything counts. And yeah, if we can make it into a wide open heart, how amazing for us and everybody else we meet. But if we can't, then make it as much as is possible now, or at least become aware that I'm like grumpy all day, or that I'm, not relating, that I'm looking away when I know someone needs attention, but I'm looking away, or, so very, very practical things that we can really do.
I love this idea of the supermarket prayer. It's what I'm coining it. Like what I'm hearing from both of you, and this I think is so pertinent at any time, but especially for those listening or those of us in the States, we're up for an election coming up soon, which wherever you are with it, there's a lot of energy. There's also many other things happening, of course, in the world that can stir up sadness for sure. And a lot of different emotions that are challenging to be with. And what I just heard you say, Naleea, and also Lars, is really, I just imagine this like turning up the volume of our awareness, that intention and presence, right? Looking back at the definition of to sin as missing the mark and missing the moment of being present. And I'm also getting, I think it's a Pema Chodron quote about you're in charge of your energy. You're in charge of managing your energy. So turning up the frequency that you intend to emit and taking responsibility for the energy. And I thought when you were speaking, Naleea, I've had these thoughts too, like, oh gosh, wait a minute. If I'm coming from anger or from combativeness, that's polarized. That's feeding the field in a way. I don't want to be doing that. So, and for someone listening who's like, yep, I've done that, not being mean to yourself either, being compassionate. And it reminds me of, the teachings about, that heaven is within you, that it's an interior job of connecting back to love within ourselves, which I just feel like so much of what's happening is the forgetting who we are and forgetting that love is actually in the makeup of our DNA, of our trillions of cells in our heart, all of it.
I just thought, I sat with a prayer before. I was wondering if that would be maybe something. I think it could just fit right now. Could I maybe read that?
Absolutely. I was just going to say, it's so beautiful. I was going to say, if you have an example of a prayer, it's beautiful. Yes, please.
So that's from Psalm 119. And it is has been put from the consciousness of the duality into the unity consciousness in this reinterpretation, or in this paraphrase. And it starts as well with that intention that I had said before in the beginning. So, heavenly source of all being, I am light, born within the light. Your word and wisdom are eternal. Their echo fills the spheres of all heavens. I am the faith passed on by the mighty ones. The ancient glory of the earth rejoices in all her splendor, now and forever. Your light fills all existence, and all things radiate your presence. I am the delight in your wisdom. It comforts and strengthens me at all times. I am the remembering of your love. It is the sacred breath of my life. Your presence is my belonging and my safety. I am the unfolding of your guidance. If I face wickedness or destruction, I open your shield of peace. I raise my senses into your vibration. I am the merging with your boundless light.
Wow, thank you. Beautiful. I don't want to even, that moment is so precious. It's so beautiful. I might have to ask you, Naleea, for the prayer later so I can add it for everybody. I can already hear, can I please have a copy? So we'll have to connect after. Never thought of the word delight. I heard that word and it lit up and I thought, oh my gosh, the word light is in there. And seeing ourselves as the delight of the one creator. That prayer was so beautiful. Before we wrap this conversation, although I can already feel, I hope to have you both back because I have so many more questions. I know that you have a book you're writing together. I know that there's a lot that you've been teaching around the white dove teachings. I will let you both just tune in. I call them heart flares, where your heart has something to share that maybe I didn't ask you, be it about this book or your teachings, anything you're feeling called to share before we end this first conversation. Hopefully you'll both come back again. And I'll let you just feel into whatever is showing up for you.
The book is very much about experience, and also to in the remembrance that every one of us, when we are on the spiritual path, it is about each one of us on our own experiences. What is it? Because if we haven't experienced anything, it's very hard to talk about something. And it is always inspirational to hear about other people's experience, because it can in some way inspire us to, maybe if we are standing at a dead end or we don't know where to go. But to share something from that book right now, where we are in the very final phase of wrapping that up, I would just say there was two things I would like to give as an advice. Is that has something also to do that I have been, it has been very valuable for me, is never say I cannot do that. And never give up in hopelessness. When you're standing there and you don't know what to do, don't give up, but give it up, so to speak. Give it up to the higher thing. And that is the way of the mystic, that you don't always know what it is, but you need to have trust somehow in your own inner voice. And I know people say, but how can I be sure that it is my real inner voice or if it's my ego? I mean, forget about that. You have to go by it. And if you find out later, I have to adjust that, then adjust it. I mean, it's very, very easy. If you don't want to die of lung cancer in 30 years, stop smoking now. You know, it's very, very simple, everything. It's just to keep clear about who you really are. Never forget who you really are. Know what you want to do, why you want to do, and then do it, you know, and then have this open heart that you not judging anything just because you have read something or people are not looking the way you thought they should look or whatever it is. God is around every corner, wherever we go, disguised as another human being. We are enlightened. Now let's take responsibility for it and act accordingly. Mm.
Yeah. And to really develop that, mean it, like to meet God, to take it serious that we are a human family, brothers and sisters. We are here to take care of many other beings, but as well us as a human family, to have the guts to be in peace, in unity, and stop all this diversity, so to speak, all this saying left, right, or whatever. Like it's like in Zen, walking on the edge of the sword, which is really, it's just being in the presence. It's not dangerous. It's just being in the presence. It's not to fall to the one side of negativity or to the other side of positivity, but to walk it, and be present with each other and care for each other, and to know that we have this abundance of sacredness around us with every breath. And what I love is to be reminded that even that we are being breathed. Like I don't even have to take a breath. And that the moment, if I want to be right, or if I want to be heard, or if I want to be different than I am right now, I am standing in the way of that love that could flow out of me right now. So, and that makes me happy, even when maybe I'm not being able to achieve it at all times, but I know it's there. So it's always there, and I am it. The other one is it, no matter what curtains are in front of us.
So beautifully said. Wow. What's coming through to me, this idea, first of all, Lars, I love what you said. Don't give up, but give it up. It's really beautifully summarized. Give it up to the divine. And similarly with what you were saying, Naleea, connecting into the frequency of unity, of oneness, of the peace. It's always there in this present moment. And we can choose at any time, is what I'm really getting, at any moment. And I really honor and acknowledge, goodness, both of you so much. Your energy is palpable. Your energy of peace and love, connection, unity. As an empath, I'm like, whoa, let's do this again soon, because I'm loving your energy. And I know all of our family, brothers and sisters. It's funny, I address our community that way. We feel that way. And I just thank you for sharing from your heart. And I want to thank every one of our brothers and sisters out there, our listeners, and just pray, hope, and encourage you to really find that peace and deep presence in the moment now. And like you said, Naleea, remember, you're being breathed. You don't even have to do anything. And to have the courage to really, to be who you are, which is the whole point. I know for me, with your you-est you, your most connected, authentic, real self, and the gift of that we need that. I think of the Rumi quote, what you're seeking is seeking you. The gifts that we have are being sought. And just thank you both. This was such a beautiful, powerful conversation and experience. And I hope at some point you might consider coming back again.
Of course.
Thank you, Julia.
Thank
And
you.
also, we send from our hearts to you all our love. So thank you for doing this with us.
From all of our hearts to yours. Thank you, dear listener. Thank you. We love you. Namaste.
Thank you.